So everyone, I'd like you to welcome Sharon Archer. She is our chair of one of our co-chairs of our Indigenous Relations Circle, as well as the local vice president at Aboriginal Legal Services.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm not used to speaking on a microphone. I'm loud enough usually as it is. Bonjour, Wani, Tansi, Kwe, Sego. Bonjour. Hello. I think I've got most of it covered. I know not all of it, and I apologize. My name's Sharon. Sharon Dijnakas, Amjanang Dunjaba, Nishtabe, Ndao, and I can't say wolf properly in Ojibwe, so I'm not going to do it, but I'm part of the wolf clan. So what I had said was my name was Sharon. I'm from Amjanang First Nation. I'm a Anishinaabe woman, and I'm part of the wolf clan. I've been with Aboriginal Legal Services for 15 years. The first 7 years as a Gladue writer. Then starting in 2017, I became a Gladue caseworker. I work with Indigenous people who have pled or been found guilty of an offense where the Crown is seeking a term of incarceration. At Aboriginal Legal, we signed our first collective agreement in December 2022. And as Chris pointed out, I am the local vice president for the Society's Aboriginal Legal Services Local. Thank you. But I think it was because everyone else was like, no, you do it. Okay, so before I get started, I think it's important to let you know my background. I did the smudge today, and I did not grow up knowing my traditions. I was adopted at the age of 3 months by a beautiful family, but they were not Native. Now my mother taught me to be proud of who I am. She said, no matter what the kids at school say or no matter what anyone says, be proud of who you are inside. My sister, like if you look at me, most people don't know I'm Indigenous until I tell them. My sister, on the other hand, she's full, dark skin, black hair, beautiful woman, but she was beat up a lot in school for that. When we went to school, because we were adopted in a non-Native family, we weren't accepted into the Native community of kids at school. Because I was her sister, they knew I was Native, we weren't accepted in the non-Native side. So she was beat up a lot in school. So my mom moved us. We went to a small community outside of Chatham, Ontario called Ridgetown. Ridgetown, Ontario, and I'm not that old, but back when I was in grade 2, Ridgetown had one school for the Natives and one school for the non-Natives. And because we lived with a non-Native family, we were put in the school for the non-Natives. And my sister was beat up every day. And it got to the point where she would say, I'm not Native. I'm Hawaiian. Leave me alone. I'm Hawaiian. But my mom tried to make us proud. And she'd tell my sister, you know, people pay to have skin like yours. You need to be proud of who you are. But as we drive by the reserve, lock the doors. It gives you conflicting messages. The person that loves you most is scared to drive by the reserve. That puts something in your head. You watch cartoons. There's Bugs Bunny or Mickey Mouse, 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indians shooting them, marking it off. When you're growing up, you don't think, oh my God, that's wrong. You accept it. That's just part of life, right? In school, you learn that we're the savages. We're the ones that made it hard for the settlers coming in. And I'm sorry. And it made it to the point where people didn't even want to identify as being Native, because being Native was seen as a bad thing. If a Native woman married a non-Native man, the government seen her as no longer being Native. She lost all Native status. She lost her status card, which, I mean, that I'm still up in the air whether that's a good thing or bad thing, but I like paying, just one of the taxes. But I also don't like being quantified by I don't like being told that I'm entitled to certain things because of how much blood quantum I have. Only dogs and racehorses do that. We're a race of people. We're not something that should be quantified. So anyway, I got off topic, sorry. A lot of women, when they married, they lost their rights as Indigenous women, and they were moved off reserve. And they would teach their children not to identify as being Indigenous because they have to leave that behind. So it wasn't passed down to the next generation. And then residential schools, we've all heard about residential schools, right? Yeah. Don't worry, I'm not going into a lot on the residential schools. I know that there's a lot of information out there. I've been Aboriginal all my life. I found out I got my status when I turned 18, and I dove deep into my culture because I wanted to. I grew up Christian. I wanted to learn why tradition was bad, and make my own decisions. I didn't find out about residential schools until I started work for Aboriginal Legal Services, and I started doing research on people's history. During one of my researches, I found my father's name as a list of one of the students. So I hear people say, you know what, it's time to get over it. That happened so long ago, the people that did that are no longer here. But my father was a survivor of it. It's not that it was my great-great-grandfather, which it probably was too, but this is something that's still in play. The last school that closed down was after my 2 kids were born. So it's not a deep part of history. It's something, and it affects 7 generations. So I'm only the first generation. So this is going to affect people for years to come. But that's what I love my job at ALS, because I can tell them, you know what, it's time to help the next generation. My father didn't learn his language. My mother didn't either, and her father was chief. I was taken away from them at the age of 3 months, so I didn't learn my language. When I had kids, I made sure they learned their language. And I love seeing that generation is bringing up traditions. They're carrying on traditions. They're learning the dances that I never had the nerve to learn. Well, and I was afraid of the jingles standing only. But I love seeing that. On a side note, I hate getting corrected by my kids when I say things wrong in Ojibwe. But my opening, my son wrote that for me because I don't know. Whereas my son is a fluent Ojibwe speaker, and I'm so proud of that. My grandson speaks to me in Ojibwe. I have to think, what did he just say? Oh yeah, come here. Okay. But I think it's amazing seeing it come back in. Now, the reason for all this conversation is there's people within the workplaces that are Native, and they're never going to tell you that they're Native because they've lived their lives being ashamed of that or not even knowing that. There have been, the research I've done at ALS, paperwork was destroyed. It was burned in churches. It was anything so that it can't be held against you. My sister's dad, he had a prominent job in Sarnia. He worked at Imperial Oil. And at that point, he had to sign out every day to attend work with the Indian agent. He had to sign out to leave the reserve. He had to sign in when he was done work. And the Indian agent told him, he says, you know, you have a nice wife and 4 beautiful daughters. If you just move into town, you won't have to do this. Tell you what, you give me your daughters and your wife's status, I'll give you $2,000, and that'll be enough, $2,000 each, by the way. That'll be enough to buy a house in town, then you no longer have to worry about this. They're no longer considered native. My sister, who, like I told you, she's full, she's dark skinned, black hair, no hair on her arms, like she's as pure as I've seen. According to her quantum records, I'm more native than she is because the Indian agent bought their status. So you have to be careful in the workplace. I know some things are common to be said, but you don't know who you're hurting. And it doesn't just apply to Indigenous people, it applies all the way across the board. But before I worked at ALS, I worked in the court. And like I said, because of how I look, people forget. And I remember going in training for a sentencing court. And the clerk that was training me says, oh, we got the Indian lover judge. Pardon? She goes, yeah. She says, she gives all the native people really easy sentences, but look, I'll show you how to change a word or two and that'll change it. I reported that. I was new, but I had to report that. Because, I'm sorry, that's not your call as a court clerk, right? And I don't accept racism on any level. It's not acceptable on any level. But you know, I'm always the exception, because it's always, oh, but not you, Sharon. No, not you. Yeah, always the exception, because then they remember, right? I am so far off what I was gonna write. Sorry. Okay, so thank you. Okay, let me just see what I've missed. As long as people think it's okay to refer to Indians, natives, or anyone as drunks, bums, chief, Pocahontas, squaw, just to name a few, people will continue to deny their heritage. We've had a long and unfortunately a long history of people denying their native ancestry to avoid schools, CAS, bigotry. I need my glasses on, sorry. Surely hiding your ancestry must have made things easier. Oh, I've already said that one, so never mind. Okay. So when I was 18 and I started learning my heritage, back then we had the Oka crisis. Does people remember the Oka crisis? Okay, I need my glasses to read and I look up and it's blurry, so I'm sorry, I'm going to be doing this a lot. Okay, there was also the Ipperwash standoff. Okay, and I worked in Kettle Point. I was in their finance department. And I never understood why the reserve was split into two groups. There was the Stony Pointers and there was the Kettle Pointers. And I was like, there's enough racism everywhere outside the reserve. Why are you having it inside? But I didn't know the full story behind Ipperwash. So once I learned that, I understood the division between them. I didn't agree with it still, but I understood it. And unless you walk a mile in someone's shoes, even though you hear something, it doesn't mean you're going to fully get it. So anyway, way back then, okay, now I said I wasn't that old, but I am a little old. I wrote a poem, which I want to read to you if you don't mind, because it still fits today. Though I don't hear squaw quite as much, just to be clear. So I'm native, so I hear, hey redskin, hey squaw. But it doesn't bother me that I'm a Chippewa. I see them lying around, lying in the sunshine. They try so hard to have skin like mine. You shouldn't have rights. That was years ago, when they hunted and killed with an arrow and bow. But the pain's still inside what they did in the past, and the things they say now make sure it'll last. Like how we are drunk and unemployed bums. Just look what a mess those natives become. Never mind the land that was taken away or the language and heritage. Just think of today. How we pay no taxes in this land of the free. Free dental, free medical, health, free university. Of course, to get these, we must live on the land that they do not need unless they demand. You see, it might be useful for beaches and resorts. And if we don't give it up, they'll take it by force. But when they try to take away our pride, I'll let them know inside it will not die. Let them think what they want of us natives today as we work to restore all that was taken away. Miigwech. Okay, in Native teachings, we often refer to the medicine wheel. Luckily, Renee made sure I had this. But these are the 4 colors of the medicine wheel. Now, you're often going to see the medicine wheel has the colors in different spots. There is no right and wrong. It's just, it depends on who's doing the teaching, because it's not, traditional way has always been, we've always had an oral history. So it's not the detail, it's the moral of the stories that you're supposed to be learning. So you'll see variations of the same story. Okay. Has anyone else heard of the medicine wheel prior? Awesome. Does anyone want to share? Come on.
Well, I can give one interpretation.
Okay.
It's directional. To the north,
Yep.
it's white, the snow. To the south, it's hot from the sun. To the east, it's yellow for the sunrise. And to the west, it's dark for the sunset.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That's beautiful.
But that's only one.
That's only one. Yes, in the medicine wheel, there's many teachings within each. And I seen a lady on TikTok, because yes, I do, not TikTok, sorry, YouTube. I do Google. I do Google things because I like to learn from everybody's perspective. I have my elders I talk to, but I like to form my own opinion on things. I like to hear things and see what fits here, because that's what's important, is how you feel and how you take things. Anyway, she had said when she does the medicine wheel, she doesn't use solid lines, she uses dotted lines, because the medicine wheel is all interconnected. It all relies on each other, and I thought, I like that. So now I don't know what I'm gonna do with all my medicine wheels that have those solid lines. Okay. So, as I said, you will sometimes see the colors in different areas of the circle. That doesn't make them wrong. That's how the teaching was for that point. There are many teachings within the medicine wheel. The one I'm speaking on today is how I was taught. The medicine wheel teaches about our connection to where we are, north, south, east, and west, our connections with who we are within ourselves, our spiritual, physical, mental, and emotional self, our connection within our communities, culture, economic, political, social, and our connections with our surroundings, the earth, the air, water, fire. We need all 4 to survive. And our medicines, sage, cedar, tobacco, and sweetgrass. At ALS during bargaining, our employer kept telling us that we aren't doing our jobs for money. We're doing our jobs for the community. You work within the Indigenous community, and that's the priority. So we went over 10 years without any wage increases. And that's why we reached out to the society, and the society has helped us to gain many, many strides, and it's amazing. we see a big turnaround at ALS. Still a lot of room to grow, but it's amazing. But we designed these shirts. They say our Indigenous ways should not mean less pay. This was during bargaining. We include the sweetgrass circle because in our traditions, circles are used in so many ways. In a circle, everyone is equal. There's no here, here, here tier system. Even when you go into the court and you go into the gladiator court, it's done in a circle. So even the judge is on the same level. So no one is more important, no one's less important. The sweetgrass was used because we were in bargaining to change the mindset. On the medicine wheel, sweetgrass is in the same segment as emotional teachings, social teachings, jealousy teaching, which when you start seeing everyone's wages, you really gotta battle that. The rights teaching and the fire teaching. Our emotional self was affected by our work. Our work was social. Jealousy was the rascal we had to learn to deal with, especially during, like I said, bargaining and variance in pays. In sweetgrass, we're taught that one blade of sweetgrass, which is, I brought one up for reference. This is part of a blade of sweetgrass. So we're taught one blade of sweetgrass is easily broken. But when you put them together in a braid, it's harder to break. The braid of sweetgrass represents unity and strength, much like the society does. We have brought some sweetgrass for anyone who would like to have some. When I'm done my work, I start my day, when I'm doing my work, I start my day burning sweetgrass, or sometimes just smelling it. Like I don't have to burn it. I just smell it and it just puts me in a better place. Same with sage, but sweetgrass is my favorite. So if anyone is interested in having some sweetgrass, yeah? Okay. Should we hand it out? Okay, you can pick it up after? Okay. So I just want to explain something, because when you do get your sweetgrass, you're going to see that there's many, many different colors to the sweetgrass. Some, because with your sweetgrass, this is the root. So that's the lighter part. And the darker part is your ends. So if you get a yellow one, don't think it's old. That's actually the strongest part of the sweetgrass. I used to think I got the old piece. So I just wanted to clear that up. Okay, so in the sweetgrass braid, there's 7 strands in each part. The 7 strands are representative of our 7 sacred teachings, 7 grandfather teachings. Depending on where you are, they're called different things. In Canada, there are 1.8 million status Indigenous people. Almost 50% of those have, there's 1.8 million Indigenous people. 50% of those have status. Can you believe I write for a living? Sorry. Status people are registered to specific reserve communities in Canada. Canada has 630 reserve communities and 50 different Indigenous nations within Canada. One thing that the nations have in common are the 7 teachings. The 7 teachings are guiding principles that can be used in any culture. Sometimes they're called sacred teachings, 7 grandfather teachings. Some have more than 7, but all include the 7 core teachings, which are wisdom, love, respect, humility, bravery, honesty, and truth. Okay, if you'd like to win a prize later, please remember that. Wisdom is represented by the beaver, because the beaver uses his natural gifts wisely for his survival. The beaver also alters his environment in an environmentally friendly and sustainable way for the benefit of his family. To cherish knowledge is to know wisdom. Use your inherent gifts wisely and live your life by them. Recognize the difference and those of others in a kind and respectful way. Continuously observe the life of all things around you. Listen with clarity and a sound mind. Respect your own limitations and those of all your surroundings. Allow yourself to learn and live by your wisdom. Love is represented by the eagle because the eagle has the strength to carry all teachings. The eagle has the ability to fly the highest and closest to the Creator, and also has the sight to see all the ways of being from great distances. The eagle's teachings of love can be found in the core of all teachings. Therefore, an eagle feather is considered the highest honor and a sacred gift. To know love is to know peace. View your inner self from the perspective of all teachings. This is to know love and to love yourself truly. Then you'll be at peace with yourself and the balance of life, all things, and also with the Creator. Respect. Respect is represented by the buffalo. I don't know how that came about here because we didn't have buffalo here. Just saying, sorry. But it's represented by the buffalo. I do understand the teaching, it's just... So the buffalo gives us every part of his being to sustain the human way of living. And not because he's of less value, but because he respects the balance and the needs of others. To honor all creation is to have respect. Live honorably in your actions towards all things. Do not waste, and be mindful of the balance of all living things. Share and give away what you do not need. Treat others in a way you want to be treated. And don't be hurtful to yourself or others. We always grew up learning not to hurt others, but you have to learn not to hurt yourself as well as others. Humility is represented by the wolf. The wolf lives his life for his pack. The ultimate shame is to be an outcast. Humility is to know that you are a sacred part of creation. Live life selfishly and not, sorry, I said that wrong. Live life selflessly and not selfishly. See, I'm still learning that one. Respect your place and carry your pride with your people and praise the accomplishments of all. Do not become arrogant or self-important. Find balance within yourself and all living things. Okay, bravery is represented by the bear. The mother bear, everybody knows the mother bear. If you're around her cubs, run. The mother bear has the courage and strength to face her fears and challenges while protecting her young. The bear also knows how to live a balanced life with rest, survival, and play. And I know a lot of people in the work do not know that balance. And it's a balance you need to find. And I've lost my place again. I'm sorry. Okay, got it. Defend what you believe in and what is right for your community, family, and self. Make positive choices and have conviction in your decisions. Face your fears and allow yourself to live your life. Honesty is represented by the raven or the sabe. The sabe, I remember when I first started learning about the sabe, it reminded me of Sasquatch. It's represented by a big hairy guy. That's the only way I can describe it, and I'm sorry. I never got much into the teaching of him because he kind of, I'll stick to the raven. But it depends on who's teaching it, because they both, in the teachings, they both come up. They both understand who they are and how to walk in their life. The raven accepts himself and knows how to use his gift. He does not seek power, speed, or beauty of others. He uses what he's been given to survive and to thrive. So to know honesty is to walk through life with integrity. to be honest with yourself. Recognize and accept who you are. Accept and use the gifts you've been given, and do not seek to deceive yourself or others. Now, when I go through the teachings and I say honesty and I say truth, people think I'm kind of losing it, or repeating myself, but they are two different things. Truth is represented by the turtle. In our teachings, he was there during the creation of earth and carries the teachings of life on his back. The turtle lives life in a slow and meticulous manner because he understands the importance of both the journey and the destination. Truth is to know all of the things. It's to apply faith and trust in your teachings, to show honor and sincerity in all that you say and do, to understand your place in this life and apply understandings in the way that you walk. Be true to yourself and all others around you, especially those that mean the most to you, because those are usually the ones we neglect first. So what does this, did I miss a sentence? Okay, yeah. Okay, so that's a lot of talk. Now I want to see how much you're taking in. So Renee has some papers, and what it is, she's going to be passing them out to everybody. Oh, I'm sorry, and Michelle's going to be passing on this side so it goes quicker. Okay, you all have pens. I want the papers to be down. No one look at them yet, please. Now, while they're passing them out, I'm just going to tell you that the first person to complete this quiz correctly, and bring it up here. Okay, I make these kits for my clients, the ones that have lost their touch with tradition. It's not a formal kit, but it has the 4 medicines in it. I've got sweetgrass in here. I've got cedar, sage, and tobacco. Not a cigarette. Loose leaf tobacco. This is not processed the way the other is. But these are the 4 medicines. But I just want you to know, if you are the first, we do have other prizes. You do not have to take this. I'm not forcing this on anybody. Okay? The reason it's blank is because if you have an inner artist or an inner child, you draw how you feel on your medicine box. Because this is personal, it's something that belongs to you. And it's not for everyone to see, so yeah, if you don't display it, that's your choice. Okay, so everyone's got one? Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to see the 7 teachings on one side, and you're going to see the definition of the teachings on the other. Line them up. Okay. So, the correct answer, wisdom. With hard work and dedication comes knowledge. Bravery. Let nothing stand in the way of doing the right thing. Honesty. Better to fail than to succeed by fraud. Truth. It's always the easiest to speak. Love. It's important to care for one another. Humility. To be humble about your accomplishments is to be strong. And respect, give it, earn it, and receive it. Thank you very much for participating in that. So, how can we use this information to better support our Indigenous members? When we went into bargaining with ALS, we wanted to incorporate our culture into the collective agreement. We looked to the 7 sacred teachings for guidance: love, respect, courage, honesty, wisdom, humility, and truth. We incorporated the need for ceremonial leave. ALS, to be fair, ALS always provided ceremonial leave, but they would determine what counted as ceremonial leave. So if you worked for this manager, any ceremony would be great, yep, have the time off. You worked for this manager and you had to quantify everything you did. And then she'd go, yeah, I don't think that qualifies. So with the collective agreement, now we just say that we need it for ceremonial days, and it's not up to you to judge my ceremony. What we have learned with the term of the first collective agreement is the 7 sacred teachings need to be incorporated throughout the agreement and not just mentioned at the start. We have now started referencing the teachings when we respond to management on issues that come up. Since we start our second round of bargaining, our first contract ends in March of 2025. So we're just going into it. That's why this is fresh on my mind, sorry. But I've started where I tell them when they're not being truthful. It's like you said in the collective agreement that you're going to turn to this, and yet you're telling me this in your previous email. I show them how they're not being truthful. And even though I can't grieve you based on the 7 sacred teachings, I can call you out on it. And my employer is Aboriginal, and they fly under that flag. So we've just started doing it more and more, and it's starting to work. We got Remembrance Day back just last Wednesday. So, yeah, to me that was a huge win. When someone is being corrected, we make sure that we talk about the teaching of respect and humility. I understand not all of you have a seat at the bargaining table, and that the majority of your members are not Native. It's very likely, however, that there are Indigenous members in all our locals. Maybe members who don't want to identify as being Native. And as I said earlier, if you just watch what you say about, Indigenous people. Like I said, it's easy for it to come out because it has become part of the natural. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to be honest. When I wrote that would have been great 10 years ago, right? The world I live in now, if somebody is going to say something racist, I'm going to call you out on it. I don't live like I did 10 years ago, right? And I don't see it as much. I'm not called Squaw or Pocahontas. You know how much I hated that when I was growing up? Okay, Pocahontas might have been a good Disney character, but she wasn't one of our heroes. But I don't know, even being female, we used to struggle more in the workplace. I see things improving, and I'm just hoping that it just continues to go that way. Anyway, I think it's important to remember when you're talking, as I said during the smudge, to keep what comes out of your mouth good. Okay. The Society's Indigenous Relations Policy commits the union to take a leadership role in encouraging, supporting, and partnering with its members' employers to develop mutually beneficial relationships with Indigenous people. When ALS became part of the Society, Michelle Johnson asked if I would be part of the Indigenous Relations Committee. And thank you for that, Michelle. I wouldn't have got involved if she hadn't have pushed me in there. In the IRC, we develop a work plan for the year to help spread awareness to issues facing our Indigenous members within various workplaces. We have supported the strawberry ceremony for murdered and missing Indigenous women. We've hosted beating teachings. We support Orange Shirt Day. Our circle remembered, our circle member, Rebecca, did a wonderful interview with Bob Watts for the Orange Shirt Day. If you haven't seen that interview, it's amazing. It's on our website, on the SUP website. I really encourage you to watch it. It's good. As co-chair, I'm hoping that we at the IRC can develop and compile Indigenous specific language that's available for others to use in collective agreements. For when they return to the bargaining table. That is not currently in place, but that is the hope. For those of you who would like to learn more about Indigenous culture, check out your local newspapers or search the webpage for Indigenous communities near your home. Communities often have events like powwows and other cultural activities that are open to the general public. If you're ever in my area in KW and you're going to the Conestoga powwow, the Waterloo powwow, and you just would rather not go alone, call me. I'll gladly go with you. I'm not your guide, to be clear. I'm just there to cheer you on. Okay, we also got these informations. It's a guide to build cultural awareness. It's called the Culture Card. These are also available today. You can grab it with your sweetgrass or without. And we also have Knowledge to Action. Now these open up and they give you information. Oh, that was me, sorry. I'll step back here for this. They're full of information that's great. So the only thing I'm going to ask is we've only brought one for everyone. So please don't take more than one. If you would like more than one for your groups or for your organization, just reach out to us because we have a few back at the office. We ordered a few, right? Yeah. Okay, what time is it?
10.
Thanks. Okay, well, I finished half hour early. I have nothing more. Chimigwach, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sharon.
Yeah.
Wasn't that amazing? One more time.